Republican National Convention, and the very nature that we're here at these talks, and the fact that I'm worried as soon as I step outside of this room, there's going to be a bunch of men in black suits for questions from me, is an indication that something needs to be done about it. See you around, sir. All right, so we're going to start with an introduction to civil disobedience. Not black hat or white hat. As opposed to black hat hatting, mindless destruction, or white hat hacking, the mindless protection of the status quo and protecting corporations, we believe that hacking is a tool. It's a means to an end. Unlike mindless black hatting or status quo white hat hacking, we believe that hacking could be used as a practical application of network insecurity skills or security skills as a means of fighting for social justice by putting direct pressure on politicians and institutions. It is a legitimate act of online protest, and we would like to use all mediums, whether it be on the street actions, smashing windows, holding signs, or using the internet in nonviolent disruption, and we believe it to be a time-tested and necessary act of democracy to continue the democratic process and keep the people on top. It is not cyber terrorism as certain federal agencies would like to believe. There's actually been very little documented cases of cyber terrorism, although the Homeland Security's budget would like to indicate that their priorities are all screwed up. It differs from cyber terrorism in the fact that terrorism tries to put fear into the population, and hacktivism would rather unite people and bring people together and empower people to give them the ability that together we can make a difference and we can put people on top of unjust corporations and governments. Why electronic civil disobedience? Well, especially over the past few years with the Bush administration, we've witnessed a multi-pronged attack on humanity on all fronts. Whether it be the madness of the war on terrorism, carpet bombing villages, the cowardice act of sending cruise missiles and shock and awe, or domestic attacks on our civil liberties at home, the Patriot Act, tapping phones, Office of Homeland Security, total information awareness. It's obvious that something needs to be done about it, and it's going to get a lot worse before it gets a lot better. And we can't trust politicians and capitalists to solve these problems because politicians and capitalists themselves are the problem. We're not going to be able to win this thing by voting for Kerry or by voting for Bush or by using any sort of electoral means to do so, because if anyone catches the hack the vote election, I mean, it's a joke. I mean, they've already started. There's already been documented cases of voter irregularity, documented cases of voter fraud. It's very direct. If we're able to ever win this thing, we're going to have to do it outside of the realm of mere electoral politics, which is not to say don't vote, but don't just vote. Okay. History shows that change has to be made by the people coming from below, and we believe that the internet is a powerful new medium where just a handful of people in small groups, just by shifting data around in the right directions, can make big changes and big damage or creation, or depending on which side of the law you are on. Okay. A history of electronic civil disobedience. It's been around for a while, but there's been a group called the Electronic Disturbance Theater, which designed floodnet scripts to be used as a form of electronic sit-in. Unlike a normal sit-in where people either like occupy buildings or campus buildings or federal buildings, or they lock arms in front of intersections to physically disrupt the system when the madness of law is working towards acts of injustice. Electronic civil disobedience or electronic sit-in is usually a series of scripts that are deployed on a website, and they set a target date and time where people would visit the website, and they download these tools, and it would continuously bombard selected targets with traffic, usually over port 80, to physically shut down the website. Now, this differs from typical DDoS attacks in the fact that instead of one person like infecting systems or just bombarding them themselves, this is more of a legitimate act in the fact that it encourages everyone to individually use their own computers as kind of like a mass online action. It is a legitimate protest act. The Electronic Disturbance Theater used these scripts in solidarity with the Zapatistas, the anarchist collectives of Chiapas, Mexico. This type of attack or this type of action is still in use today. Another group called the Electro Hippie Collective deployed these scripts the day after the Iraq War started. They set up a series of scripts on their website to bombard the Pentagon with so much traffic that it was able to shut it down for a few days. And unlike the Electronic Disturbance Theater, they actually prepared these scripts and put them on their website so people could actually download the code, modify the code just a bit, and use it to launch their own actions in the future. So far, I've only talked about like electronic sit-in scripts. There's also a large and growing number of hacker organizations and individuals who are doing more direct methods of disruption, whether it be actually infiltrating and defacing websites, or gathering private information, or using corporate credit cards to purchase like symbolic items of political significance. One example of such is the CrimethInc hackers block, which defaced DARE's website about last February, the drug-free anti-drug propaganda thing. They put a large message to oppose the war on drugs and to oppose the criminalization of marijuana. And unlike typical defacement attacks, this is very targeted against a specific unjust institution. And they didn't just put some lame script kiddie, oh, I'm so cool, check it out, I defaced this website, I was here. They there are serious political foundations to this, and they released press releases and made a big media splash. And even though it was only up for a couple hours, a lot of people went to it, and a lot of people understood the politics surrounding it, and no damage was done. And it was a legitimate protest tactic, and we'd hope to see a lot more in the future. And over the past couple of years, there's been a lot more, as the where oppression breeds resistance, there's been a lot more politically motivated defacements. And then since then, there's been a large variety of hacker magazines or hacktivist magazines that have increasingly talked about electronic civil disobedience. TheHacktivist.com is a very good resource for talking about the latest news in the hacktivist scene, whether it be unjust computer laws in China, or whether it be actions such as the electronic civil disobedience campaign against the Republican National Convention. There's also a magazine on hackthisite.org that talks mainly about the latest campaigns on electronic civil disobedience, and they cover a lot of really good stuff like the debold voting systems and so forth. So what does this all mean? I guess so. I don't know. This isn't in my computer. I don't use Windows. So open source is applied anarchism. The Republican National Convention. I don't think I need to tell you about the horrors of the Republican Party or the horrors of the Democratic Party, for that matter. It should, I guess. The Republican National Convention is being held in New York City around September 11th in a very low, pathetic attempt to capitalize off of the fears and emotions surrounding 9/11. They want to use the city as a tactic to push forth their political agenda of endless war and giving corporations tax breaks and legal breaks so they could push forth their capitalist agenda of domineering the world at the poor's expense. Hundreds of thousands will be descending upon the city to take their frustrations on the Bush administration to the streets. And various organizations have pledged to use direct action to shut down the convention, whether it be the cliche smashing windows, spray painting Starbucks windows, or a wide array of diverse creative direct action techniques. Such as changing the LCD displays on Madison Square Garden and so forth. In addition to the battle on the streets, several hacker organizations and individuals have pledged to commit electronic civil disobedience against the Republican National Convention, a variety of right-wing websites, conservative websites, large multinational corporations, and other key elements of the military-industrial complex. Unlike past electronic civil disobedience actions, where there's only been like one institution who's participated in these protests, we are calling out for various people who might be interested or might be vaguely interested in this sort of thing to autonomously commit their own direct action against whatever targets they feel. And what we're doing is we're serving as kind of a focus point, a coordinating organization. We're not directly going to be participating in any illegal acts ourselves, but we're going to be communicating with the media about different actions different people are going to be doing, and we're going to hopefully try to coordinate different people's actions. This is a very decentralized campaign. There are no central groups to give orders or to organize this campaign. All are free to participate in any way they can, and that means every one of you in the audience right now. Do your own thing. We only exist to communicate with the media and coordinate actions amongst groups. What is planned or encouraged, or make up your mind, we're going to be doing is essentially there's going to be a two-step attack. A week before the National Convention, which is the convention takes place from August 28th or so to September 2nd. A week before, or on August 22nd, there's going to be a series of direct disruptions of Republican right-wing websites. And I'll let you use your imagination. There's going to be a series of defacements, financial disruption, email flood campaigns. And this is basically to stir discussion of the Republican National Convention in the media, and hopefully get the word out about the demonstrations and encourage people to take the bus from their local city and actually engage in the demonstrations against the Republican National Convention in New York City. We are also going to be announcing and preparing for the electronic sit-in scripts and other electronic flooding systems that is going to be taking place the day of the convention, August 29th. So a week before, and then the day of August 29th. And the electronic sit-in scripts will be composed of a typical electronic sit-in script where people could use the flood tools that will be available on our website, and I'll show you that later on. And we'll also be giving email lists of all the key Republican Party contacts, whether it be fax numbers, email addresses, phone numbers, and we're just going to put them on the website, and everyone is free to do with whatever it is they want. You know, we have a couple suggestions, but we won't be directly doing anything ourselves. One thing we'd like to see is people like faxing together black sheets of construction paper, like tied together in a big loop to these like key Republican like fax numbers, so they get bombarded by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of like black sheets. We would like to see a variety of mail bombings, and there would be a list of Republican National Convention delegates available on our website later on. And in addition, there's lists of all the Republican National Convention delegates who are coming from each state. We know where they're going to be staying in the hotels. We know what Broadway shows they're going to be going to. All this information is going to be available on the website, and we'd like to encourage people to harass these fuckers in any way they can. Okay. Now, anyone has the ability to engage in their own electronic civil disobedience campaigns. All we're doing is we're just trying to coordinate different people doing different things. So if you're targeting Sarah Lee, for example, for exploited workers, now is a good time to do it because it's all part of the same capitalist infrastructure. If you've got your eye on Boeing, yeah, please go for it. I'd like to see those fuckers go down. Same with Halliburton, Bechtel, Total Information Awareness. Use your imagination. I have a list of websites, and they will be available on the website. Basically, you can either select your target specifically, or you could broadly sweep for targets and look for anything that might be right-wing or conservative. Specifically, stuff that may already be in the news or may already be in the hot seat, such as Google going corporate like a week ago. There's been a variety of different attacks to bring light to how they support China's oppressive internet laws. That's a very good tactic for disruption, especially when you like DDoS their website on the day that they go public. That's a very good technique of disrupting the corporate infrastructure. Then the next step is to gather contact information for different national news services and different hacker organizations or different magazines or so forth. Gather a big email list. Just go on a big campaign. Just get mega stoned out of your mind and just go look at all these websites and gather email lists and get a big, huge list. I know I did. A good website to get free email is ziplip.com. It's secure and use several proxies and don't use your home computer when you do it. There's also several remailers if you're really concerned about security. Declare your attack time and date before you actually go and do it. Say when you're going to be doing it, why you're going to be doing it, and prepare a very well-worded press release. I suggest you look up there's a good book called Making the News. It's a guide for activists and how to bring about their campaigns. Hold your questions till the end. I'd really like to debate this. I'd usually give it a couple days before I actually go and do these actions, and then send your press releases out to various national news services and give them a secure email address where they could get in contact with you, because they love to do background things and ask questions and so forth. And that would be very good for your cause if you get interviewed by national news services, and it would give you an opportunity to kind of present yourself to the media. Basically, the real end in this is we like to see people get involved, get politically motivated, and start hacking for political foundations instead of just mindless games and ego battles. Don't limit your activism to just the mere world of computers. Take it to the streets. We need more foot soldiers in the streets to fuck up shit. All right? There's many ways you can get involved with the RNC. We'd like to see every method of disruption possible, whether it be shutting down the power to Madison Square Garden, whether it be defacing 10,000 different Republican websites. We'd like to see everything. We'd like to see RNC delegates get harassed on the streets, fuck them up. You run away. There's the charter buses that they're going to be going up and down 7th Street. There's ways you can shut them down. There's the little emergency switch on the side. They're going to be clearly labeled for the Republican National Convention. Get a team of 2 or 3 people to go, shut it down, and it'll completely cause disruption. Sneak into the RNC. Become a volunteer. There's different ways you could volunteer for the RNC. Just go to the RNC's website and become a volunteer. And then in the middle of the convention itself, cause all sorts of disruption. Get slave string, get light shows, start screaming, megaphone. Don't tell them to fuck shit up. Free country, democracy.
Well, it is. Just please.
Yes, ma'am. And basically that's all I got to say. So, I mean, this is an open forum. We'd like to see everyone participate in this in any way they can. So I'm going to just open this up for questions or debates. So anyone got anything to say? We'll start with this guy over here.
You talked about unjust corporations and unjust governments. You should talk about the criteria that define
Okay, I could give you a few specifics right offhand. He asked about a few specifics of criteria for what you consider to be unjust corporations and unjust government institutions. I guess one off the bat that is on everyone's mind would be Halliburton. And I don't think I really need to talk about this, but basically, former CEO Dick Cheney is now vice president. Halliburton has contracts with the Department of Army Engineers to privatize the Iraqis' oil supplies. And Dwight Eisenhower said it himself, that when the people who make money from war, whether it be by privatizing the nation's resources or by building the bombs or by the reconstruction efforts, if it's these same corporations, these private American corporations, are the same ones who are making the decisions whether we are going to war or not, then we're going to be going to war a lot, and there's going to be a lot of rich motherfuckers making a lot of money. Yep, Eisenhower. Military-industrial complex. It's right out there in your face. Bechtel, Rumsfeld, SBC monopolizing the phone systems. I could just prattle on and on. So I hope that answered your question. Any real corporation that exploits the masses or contributes to the war machine by whether bombing third world countries or by cutting down on workers' benefits and essentially stealing from the poor and giving to the rich is fair game as far as I'm concerned. All right, over there.
How would you respond to criticism like Happy Baseball, who suggested like an EDOS style attack is counterproductive and that it's the equivalent of shouting louder than your opponent to make your better point, and in favor of creative tools such as any kind of circumvention of censorship in China in particular, and the use of information tools rather than the shutting down of the speech of your opponent in a way that may not really make your actual point.
Okay. I got 10 minutes left. Okay, I believe that was in reference to CDC, who I believe was originally the ones who coined the term hacktivismo. And I guess it really depends on who gets to define the terms and who owns these ideas. When I say hacktivism, I really mean the merging of activism and hacking, and using hacking as a means of fighting for social justice. I agree on that as well. But DDoSing is not hacking, but it is a method of disruption, and I can't stand idly by while these motherfuckers are able to get away with it. So any method of disruption at any cost, any means necessary. It goes both ways. While at the same time, the actions by the anti-war movement might alienate or give the other side, the rich motherfuckers, the ability to use it against us by portraying us all as destructive, mindless anarchists and so forth. I think it goes a bit both ways. While at the same time it really beat the fuck out of a lot of people in Chicago in '68, it did radicalize a lot of different people, and it really exposed how reactionary and how inherently violent the police state really is. And there's just an example of that. If you looked at the Daily News a couple weeks ago in New York, they're trying to portray anarchists as hardcore lunatics. And in the article, they're talking about how they contain these hardcore anarchists. That is by shooting them with rubber bullets, gassing them, chemical weapons, shooting people. They killed I don't remember his name, a guy in Genoa, Italy, at a G8 demonstration. All right, I'm going to hurry it up because these guys look pretty antsy. Cool. That lady over there with the pink shirt. One man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist. Anyone who is, especially in our modern police state times, who is even the least bit criticism of the American government could easily be portrayed as terrorists, and we've especially seen that you're either with us or you're against us. And I see that as a sign that if we don't speak up now, we may never have another chance to. So let them call us terrorists. I'll still bomb their buildings. I thought that man had something to say. Please do.
Ladies and gentlemen, I need to interrupt for a second. It came to my attention that some words were said by the speakers involving acts of violence, acts of vandalism, acts of what I'm sure they term social anarchistic disobedience. The staff of DEFCON itself, and the individuals within DEFCON do not condone those activities and do not associate ourselves with those activities. I would also like to point out, from a law enforcement point of view, if you do that, you will be considered a terrorist. You will be prosecuted under those laws. Do I agree with that? I'm a strict constitutionalist, which means that, to me, the First Amendment is sacrosanct, the Fourth Amendment is sacrosanct, the Fifth Amendment is sacrosanct. Have I seen a deterioration in those rights in the interest of freedom? I'd just like to say that, how do you boil a frog? Well, you turn up the water slowly until the frog can't jump out. I'm sure these guys would agree with that. I would encourage you to be active politically, and I would encourage you to be active politically responsibly. Okay, that, as you say, your rights stop at the front of another man's nose, and you do have the right to speak your mind in this country, but do it responsibly. Don't do it stupidly. Don't blow things up. Don't shoot people. Don't crash systems, because that can kill people. There was an anarchist event that went on, I can't remember way back when, they broke into a hospital and they wiped a whole bunch of hospital records. Medications were given to wrong patients. Patients died. That's not activism, that's murder. I don't remember the gang, it was back in the 60s, who robbed the bank where the guard was killed. Thank you, the Weathermen. Once again, that was supposed to be political activism. It wasn't. It was simple terrorism and murder. It was terrorism and murder. They blew up, what did they blow up? They were robbing a bank. Did they blow something up them? That's what I think. I'm mixing my metaphors. Sorry, guys, I had to come up and say that. Just, you were a little off the edge, and we don't want to share the news. Doesn't suddenly go, and at DEFCON, they said to blow up the Republican bus, and
Please do.
so on and so forth. So, thanks, guys.
There's a difference between terrorism and electronic civil disobedience, and the fact that this does not cause damage to people or individuals or any sort of infrastructural damage. This is simply just the shifting of data around in the right directions that could be used to make political points. And we ask people to be responsible in their actions. These delegates are responsible for the deaths of 10,000 people in Iraq. Silence is complicity. If you protect these delegates... All right, we aren't going to have a shouting match. If we have more questions. More questions.
Historically, civil disobedience is involved only in the breaking of unjust laws.
Very true. I encourage you to break unjust laws, but do it in a manner that's responsible.
The rest of the question is, you contrast your understanding of civil disobedience, right?
Yes.
Civil disobedience which was civilized during the 1960s, during the civil rights movement.
Okay, I'm going to bring up a historical context here. When the machinery of law is working towards acts of injustice, then it's up for the people to rise up and combat the law and build a free society. An example of this is the people of the American revolutionaries who shot up the pigs at Lexington and Concord would be accused of being a terrorist in the eyes of the British government. They were freedom fighters, man. It's about democracy. It's about taking back your own country from the oppressors. Any questions? Excuse me, one at a time.
Jeff Moss, the Dark Tangent, is in the Dunk Tank. If anyone would like to plug the dunk, the Dark Tangent. This is for the EFF. It is a charity. They did bring us money. You pay $20 a bit, you get to run up the thing and push the button and he falls in. And then it goes back from there. $1. $1 for 3 balls, or $1, whatever it is. We'll have some fun too. We're actually going to end this now. We'd like to thank our speakers. I personally would like to encourage you, again, fight tyranny, but fight responsibly.
By any means necessary.
And not by any means necessary. Corrupt your data,
I guess that's it.